Welcome in, everybody. It's Ash Man's Basics. Today we're going to be talking about something a lot of people get upset about. That's tracing. So, if you guys are, wow, that's a big picture of me. If you guys, if you guys ever have had somebody accuse you of tracing and you get a little irritated, there's a reason for that, and I had that happen this week, actually. Somebody had accused me of tracing somebody else's artwork, and they were wrong. I was tracing my own artwork onto a wood burning panel. And the reason I was doing it was to speed up the time. And that's kind of what you do. You use tracing as a tool. And let's talk about this. Like, what is the history of tracing, right? And who used it? Well, the old masters like Albrecht Dürer used it. He used devices like a camera obscura, which is a different way of tracing things, or grid patterns to trace things. Renaissance workshops tracing helped replicate designs for frescoes. So you don't think they just sat down one day and went, I'm going to just chisel this. Most of the time, those marble quarries were hard to get the marble out in the first place. You're not just going to take a chisel to that. You're going to want to know what you're doing. So there are reasons for tracing, and it is a tool. It is a tool. Don't let people make you feel bad because you're using a tool. The other thing is animation and comics. There was a there was a movie a long time ago. I can't remember the name of it, but somebody would make fun of one of the guys and call him a tracer, and he was an inker. Inking is a big part of the comic book industry, and a good inker is hard to find. Somebody who could actually perform that duty well is hard to find because they're very good and they bring out the best of the drawing. So you can call them tracers all you want, but the fact is they bring things out of the pencil drawings that weren't there before. So tracing is a big deal in the comic book industry and the animation too. You're basically tracing with paint on cells constantly. And what are some of the common methods of tracing? Well, of course, there's tracing paper. There's light tables, there's projectors, there's transfer paper, and there's digital tracing. I myself have used digital tracing. I have taken photos of things, and for some subjects where I need the detail precise, I have traced some of it. But I don't do the whole thing in tracing. I need that little bit that looks good, and I trace it. And the other reason for tracing is to learn. Beginners should use tracing to understand composition, design aspects, perspective. Perspective is really hard for a beginner. So if you have perspective of how the hand looks forward and you trace that for a while, you'll start to understand it. So tracing is a learning method. If somebody's making you feel bad for trying to learn something, then think about that. Who's wrong about that aspect right there? The person that doesn't want you to learn. So here we go. And projectors. The other thing about tracing, like something like a projector, I use a projector all the time for my own artwork because I've created something that I liked and then I project it. Why would I take the time to draw something the way I like and then have to try and enlarge it and do it all over again when I could just use a tool to take the drawing I have and make it larger? And the thing is, you still need skill when you're using that. The skill you have within you is put on the tracing because basically, if you don't know anatomy or you don't know composition or shading or something like that, when you go to blow something up that large, it'll look bad. So you need to know how to draw when you're doing tracing. A lot of people don't know that. They think, oh, I'll just trace it and it'll look fine. And then they blow it up and they look at it and they go, this doesn't look right, or it looks flat, or it looks, because you need to know what you're doing. So learning all the skills before you do something like that makes a big difference. So yeah, trace early, trace a lot, figure it out. Now, why do we trace? Why do we trace? For accuracy. Like the Renaissance painters, they traced with camera obscuras and that sort of thing, and they wanted it to look right. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of artists, even modern artists, that have been called out about using tracing techniques, and a lot of them hit it. And I don't think you should. I think if you're using tracing, go ahead and say it. It's fine, especially nowadays. I mean, most computer programs and that sort of thing use tracing. And efficiency. I just explained something with efficiency. The fact that I took the time to create a very detailed drawing, took all that time. Why would I try and replicate it larger when I could just take the drawing and replicate it? Because that is efficiency. If you have a deadline, if you need to get something done and it needs to look right and it needs to look good, do some tracing. It's okay. It's okay. And like I said earlier, a learning tool, of course, you're going to learn how to draw composition and that sort of thing, anatomy, perspective, and commercial work. Tight deadlines, like I said, and it has to look like what the client has in front of you, right? You don't have carte blanche to do what you want when you're drawing a logo. That logo is what sells their product. So if you need to trace their logo, you better trace their logo to make sure it looks exactly like what the client wants. Now, the ethical arguments. Is it a tool like using a ruler or a reference photo? I mean, some people would argue that it could be corrupted, and I can see that point. If all you're doing is tracing constantly and you're not coming up with your own ideas, you're not creating anything out of it, is it art? But that goes into a different direction. That's another topic for a different time. Is it art? And then, of course, we have, many acclaimed artists like Vermeer, David Hockney, those kinds of guys did that sort of thing. And finally, does it destroy the artwork itself if you're tracing? Is it art? That's up to you. That's all I could say. That's up to you. So that's what I have to say about tracing within art.
Ashman's Basics. You heard it here first. I agree with everything you just said, sir. All of it. All of it. 100%. I don't get it. To me, it's a tool. Yes, I do understand the argument, but if that's all you do and you're presenting it as your own original work, yeah, that's obviously a problem.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It'd be like me saying that somebody building guitars that isn't doing it all from a tree by scratch from hand, because that's the way I do it, is full of shit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's some people out there making amazing guitars and they don't do it at all like what I do. They use the CNC machine. They send the body out to somewhere else to get it painted. But hey, they're still making guitars. They're doing what they do.
Yeah.
So they're just in a different price range. That's all. It ain't a big deal. I agree, man. I think it's a false narrative there.